What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit, and I'm super excited. I've got my friend Jake Freeland from Admin Handyman in the studio today, and we did some content back when I first opened the studio through the first boot camp, difference maker boot camp cohort at the Howell Chamber. And so we did a little bit of content. And I remember it's funny, and again, watching things as they grew and change. Like I remember the video was a little fuzzy and grainy and playing with it. And we were having audio issues. Like the audio wasn't loud enough. I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this all out. I'm like chat GPTing, figuring out what the heck is going on. It was playing normal on my end, but then when I'd find another device, it was like super quiet. So like trying to figure out all the things. So it's fun to come that full circle. And then I know that Jake has had a lot of growth and changes since the last time that we talked. And so always fun to have my friends in and then go deep into their story and see what they're doing. So Jake, welcome to the studio.
Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
My pleasure. You reached out and you're like, can I be on the podcast? I'm like, man, my apologies for not asking sooner. Like this is, but again, everything works out for a reason, right? We're on that.
Yeah. It's the right time. You know, several months ago would not have been the right time. Even a couple months would not have been the right time.
Yep.
So yeah, it all works out.
So man, first off, tell me about Admin Handyman and how you got started with that.
Yeah. So Admin Handyman is a remote, fractional, however you want to say it, office support, operational support, different names. But the idea here is that I'm helping roofers get jobs done. A lot of times these roofers are, working all day. They're managing crews, they're managing people, they're running their companies, and they might not have the office support yet. They might not have the admin yet. They might be doing it themselves. People who have other jobs might be kind of stretched thin doing too many things. So I come in and handle invoicing, permitting, warranties, supplier, dumpster rentals, all that kind of stuff, managing schedules. So I just have a flat per roof price, and then I just handle all that office stuff for them. And a couple things I don't do, of course, but that's fine. But yeah, it's been taken off ever since I got really focused on what I wanted to do and made a clear message, and it's just been going really good since last summer.
Isn't this so cool when we get that clarity and it kind of just locks into place and it just starts taking off the way we envisioned it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because people are like, "Oh, you've been in business since last year. How's it been going?" I was like, "Well, last year kind of stunk. It was a growth year. There was a lot of things I was really ignorant about, right?
Yeah.
And last summer even there was things I didn't know that I know now, and it was just one of those things where it just kind of takes some time, and you go through some changes and iterations, and I finally think I found that secret sauce where it's working out really good.
I think that's the biggest thing, and for people listening that want to start a business, you think I'm going to get it all figured out. I'm going to create the plan, and we're just going to do this, and it's going to, and nothing's going to go wrong. And the battle is just go take the action and do the things, because you learn. You cannot plan for what you don't know.
Right.
And sometimes as you're going, you find, oh, that's the real thing. Like that's the thing right there that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just doing it, and last year I got really frustrated because I didn't know that. It was something I learned over time. It was just thinking, man, why are all this work I've done, why isn't it really paying off? Why aren't things really happening? But that those moments are when you kind of go back to it and you kind of figure out who you are and what you're doing and if this means anything to you. So, I mean, I applaud anyone who's able to hit the ground running and just take off. That's great. That's amazing. I wish that for everyone. I don't not wish that for people, but man, I think there was something about really going through those trials last year, and trying to figure out, really who I am. And I feel like I've got a better product now. It has actually been resonating with roofers better. It's clear. They're jumping on board way quicker. They're excited even where they're just like, oh my gosh, you're going to solve these problems for me. And they're thanking me and paying me. And, that's what you want.
That's what you strive for.
And I didn't have that before, and I wasn't going to get that before. So going through those trials and learning learning from those mistakes and just learning what people really needed from me was awesome.
What do you think the biggest thing you learned through this process was?
Patience for me.
Yeah.
I think everyone might be different. For me, it was patience. I'm very much clear tasks off right now person. I'm very much, I don't like saying I have time or it's slow. That's when things get busy. And then you're overwhelmed and behind. And I don't like that. So I'm the person who wants to get it done right away. And there are things that I couldn't do that right away last year. And so learning that patience of balancing, like get it done right away with having patience with just letting things come a little bit more naturally and, going through a process a little bit. So for me, it was just a lot of patience in trusting the process would work out.
It's it's funny. It's, you read the Bible and it's like patience and faith and like all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but and you can apply it in certain places in life. But then
Mm-hmm.
when starting a business or anything like that, it can be so hard to like sit in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a lot of spiritual growth too. You have a lot of raw. I had a lot of raw conversations with God last
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
You really kind of get you hear all those cliche words like press in and lean in and all that kind of stuff. But when you're kind of staring down, like, why isn't this working right away?
yep,
I mean, and you have nowhere else to look. You start looking up, right? You start looking up and just, you have some raw conversations. That's the G-rated version of, those raw, but it's great. I feel
yeah,
like, tons of growth there last year. But yeah, and then kind of learning, what am I doing with this? And personally, as a man of faith, I believe God's not just, not withholding anything, just molding me, getting me to a point where I'm ready to be a
yep,
steward of what can come.
yep,
Yep.
yep. It's working that plan, and sometimes we don't get it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then when you get that clarity and things start to lock in place,
Mm-hmm.
it's like thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. There's thanks and some I'm sorry's in there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like, you remember that? Yeah, you remember that. But
Do you remember
but
that?
yeah, I'm sorry about that. But like I said, just some really raw conversations about it, because I felt compelled. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction starting this company. I felt compelled to do this. I
Yeah.
felt like there was something deeper calling me to do it.
Yep.
And so when that just kind of blows up in your face, you're just kind of like, okay, like, what is going on here, right?
Yep.
So like I said, a lot of raw conversations, but here I am, and things are going good. Last week closed some good deals, got some strategic partnerships in the brew, going. Like, I already got one, but working on expanding that with this specific company and to get out there even more.
Well, that's what I love from my conversations with you, and is watching those seeds grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when you first had that conversation with the partnership that you're talking about with the guy that puts your stuff in a slide deck, and I remember when you first had that conversation, and now to see that coming to fruition,
Yep.
and you're getting clients from it, it's so cool, because
Yeah.
it takes. Again, it's having that patience, but
Yep.
when we can watch the time lapse, so many people see the overnight success. They don't
Yep.
see they don't see the struggle behind. And so
Yeah.
I from my end, I appreciate seeing that whole growth.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because when I came on today, I did a lot of thinking after I just begged and groveled you to be on this podcast.
You didn't beg too hard.
But I did a lot of thinking. I'm like, where do I want, because I know you're going to lead, you're going to have a bunch of really thoughtful questions. I thought, how am I going to answer and what do I want to say? Compared to, again, that growth from last year, having done this once and done it in a couple other spots, right? And I really wanted to be authentic and real and let people know, like, last year sucked, and I want people who watch this, hopefully, are, if they're starting going through the same thing, it's like, it happens.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're not crazy. Just, if you can, just keep trudging ahead and just keep going with it. Yeah. But like that partnership, it's like it's a industry company in roofing. This rep, we just hit it off, and he's like, hey, I want to put you in my slide deck. You're going to add value to me, because when I'm going in and doing what I'm selling, I think it would be really good, because I agree with you. I'm running to roofers all the time who could really use your help. And this is great. And I was like, sweet. And he set me he set the table well. He gave me some good expectations. Like, hey, I'm going to probably hit the road with them, do my tours with all my roofers. You know, in February, you'll probably start seeing some stuff come through late February, March. And yeah, sure enough, in March, just there's like that first one, the second one, and it's up to like leads who want to talk to me. And so, in this, again, this company, I've reached out to someone else I know to try to get an audience with another rep. And he's like, well, hey, actually, let me just give you to that rep's manager. And so now next week, I'll be on a Zoom call with 9 of these reps across the Great Lakes. And the idea is the same. It's like, hey, how can I get into your slide decks? And then how can I help you when they call me, is to try to build that relationship where I'm saying, hey, go to these guys, you know, use them, you know, for your services. So like the strategic alliance is being a solopreneur. I've realized, and this is kind of all tied together, right? Is I realize I can't do everything.
Yep.
I can. It's just going to be like, if we're looking at like some of this equipment here with like the audio bars, like everything's up like 1 or 2 pegs.
Yep.
You know, not all the way up to 10.
It's not over skirting into the red.
Or for some movie nuts out there, it's not up to 11.
Yes.
You know, we can't get to 11. So how do I do that? And what am I good at? What can I do? Like really looking at what my strengths are and what have they been, and trying to find ways to offload the other stuff. So it's not about, you know, it's about leveraging these guys who are willing to help. They want to see me grow, and it's helping them, because if these roofers are successful and are scaling now because they're taking things off and they can go get more jobs, et cetera, that's good for them because the roofers will buy more from them. Mm-hmm. So it's really finding a way to kind of get myself a little bit of a sales force in a way. It's what all of us in networking and network groups and chambers, that's what we all know is, but it's just finding those right connections, the right people who are willing to help you out. And then of course, reciprocating that, you know, not sending people to their competitors, but saying like encouraging them and keep planting those seeds, like go to these guys, they're resources for you. So yeah, it's been great. And then I have a lot of expectations for that. I think it's going to be amazing.
It's so close to the work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's so many ways to go out and grow a business, and there can be some extremely painful and tedious ones. And I know at the beginning you were like making cold calls to businesses, and that's such a hard route because there's so many things you have to do to build trust. And I'm not discouraging anybody from going and doing that. I think that you even have to learn through that process and go through that. However, when you can identify, hey, there's a section of people that work with my target clients that are already serving them, and if we partner together, we could add more value, and you dominate their space, because again, your partner there, he's getting value because now they're doing better business. But also, when you're helping and you're doing all these things for their client, how do they look and view them? They're pretty favorable, right? They're pretty grateful that they brought you into their life.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a win-win. It's finding good, strong people to work with. You know, it's kind of segue into my website. It was something I took from that when learning from this rep, and he's like, man, you can give me so much value. I took that and applied it to my website even. I just recently added a trusted partners page, you know, revised some different things on it, tried slimming it down, making it quicker and easier to read. There's a video of me on the front page now. So cool. Just feedback I heard from roofers. Like, hey, like I love your website, looks great, but it's too wordy. I don't have time to read this. It's a wall of text. He's like, if you had a video telling me stuff, it'd be easier. I could just watch the video just in my AirPods or whatever, you know. And I can just listen to it real quick and kind of hear what's going on. So I started doing that. And then the trusted partners page was taking that as well and just saying, these are people that I personally have known for a while and I trust, and they have good synergy with me. You know, you are on that page, you know, there's other people on that page. And the idea here is when the roofers go to my website, through my cold calling, through these reps, through email campaigns, I'm going to start print campaigns pretty soon here. Where, you know, I want them to go to the website and I want them to have something to do, not just be like, okay, he's a secretary. Yeah. I'm not. I'm
Yep.
operational support. Like I can help you run your business and for a very manageable cost. So when they get there, even if I'm not the one they want right now, I want them to say, well, what's this trusted partners page? Because I know full well that's something I would click on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, oh, actually, I need a merchant processor, advisor. Oh, I could use someone to talk to about insurance. That's not my guy. Like there's all sorts of things there that that can be helpful to a roofer, and and just give them value like that too. So I'm trying to do that as well for other people.
I love that, and again, it takes a village,
Hmm.
and then you're able to help your clients out with more resources to help them grow their business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I think there's so much to it, and having been in those shoes, running the day to day of a roofing company for a couple years there, um, you get hit with a lot, and it's just nice sometimes just having like a referral,
Yeah. Yeah.
someone. And if I can kind of build that trust with people and they trust me to go to people I trust, and that's win-win-win for everyone.
Yep. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
huge. And when you're talking at the beginning and talking about the things you take off the roofer's
Mhm.
plate, I can't imagine that a lot of people start their roofing business so that they can do the follow up and that they
Yeah.
can do the invoice processing and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. No, they don't. They just want to put roofs on.
Yeah.
Um, I used to joke with people when I was running the day to day. They hear my voice on the phone. They start going in. I'm like, hey, I know what you're talking about. Well, let me get someone else to you. I'm an indoor cat. They don't let me outside. Like I get
I
it.
love that.
They just won't let me out because the funny thing is I love the roofing industry. I'm not good with heights, but I can help in other ways, and that's
Yeah.
like let people who love climbing ladders and love getting on steep pitches. Hey, you do you. That's just I love the views. I don't like the thought of falling from the views, and that's what always gets me. So I know my lane. I stay in it, and I do the admin stuff. So it's yeah, they know it's gonna need to be done, the admin stuff. Um, but just like when I started, there was things I'm like, I know I got to do these things. I know I got cold call. I know I have to market. I know I have to do this. But until you really start doing, you're like, oh, you kind of learn what you really like and don't like.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you for being like, I don't like this or I'm not good at this.
Yep.
It's okay. Just you got to slog through it a little bit, and then till you can get to that point where you can kind of offload it on, other people. But yeah, they don't in
Websites, for
generally,
example,
yeah,
like
they generally
you
don't want to
could
do
you
that
could spend
stuff.
a lot of time doing that, trying to
Hmm.
figure it out, and then have something that you don't even like.
Yeah, no, exactly. My website went through many iterations. Thank you to JJ
Yeah.
for being patient with me as we went through all those iterations. Also on the trusted partners page, if anyone wants to talk to him. But yeah, it just takes time to go through that stuff, and those things that I do. It's easy for me to sit at a computer and do my thing all day. For instance, permits.
Mm.
It's a great entry point to talking to any roofers. Any roofers listening now, I'll ask you this: do you like handling permits? You don't. I already know because no roofer has said, man, I can't wait to do more permits today. It's just not a thing. So it's something I handle. It's just part of what I do. It's easier for me, and I have the same headaches with it too. Sometimes a municipality has a broken PDF, and I'm struggling on a desktop, ultra wide screen monitor. I'm struggling with it. I can't imagine a roofer on a mobile tablet or a phone or even a laptop like next to the steering wheel
Trying
trying
to
to
do that.
work through a broken PDF. That's the kind of stuff I think of as like, man, just let me handle that.
Yep.
You talk to your crews, you teach your crews, make them better, schmooze the homeowner, make sure that they're happy, make sure nothing's getting broke there. If it is, get it fixed right away. Like that's really the best use of a roofer's time is, making sure their projects are done good, getting that 5-star review, moving on to the next one. Like having me send out the updated invoices, taking care of permits, making sure the crews are where they need to be, making sure the dumpster arrives on time. Just, You're going to be at a job for a few days in the middle of nowhere. Let me know. We'll get you a Porta John ordered.
Mhm.
You know, just those little things, like those little things, they're easy. Anyone can do it. These roofers can do it. They're very capable, but it takes time. It just takes time from other things. And that's what I've been with a lady named Trey. Also on my website, she's going to start working with me on my social media.
Trey Bolin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So for everybody listening, we've dropped JJ from Lake House Studios. JJ's been a guest at Coffee and Grit, and we need to catch up with him again and have him on again. It's been a couple years. And then Trey Bolin as well has been on Coffee and Grit, and she proudly holds one of the shortest episodes. Nothing to do with Trey, but I did a 3-banger that we were going on a cruise 3 years ago around this time, and I did 3 episodes that day. And the first 2 went way over, and they were literally going to kick me out of the studio. And they're like, "You got 35 minutes," and I'm like, "Okay, Trey, we're going to power do this." So Trey, I owe you another episode as well.
That's funny. Yeah, absolutely. No, Trey is fantastic. She's got a really great process and a really great business plan, and just working with her, we haven't even fully implemented it yet. But just working with her, because that's the social media stuff's coming, but working with her on just these phone calls and her just asking some really thoughtful questions has created like several light bulb moments for me where I'm like, oh, I'm going to tweak this. Like, this is kind of like a thing. I'm going to tweak this. And then I told some roofers I know, like, we're just talking to them, be like, hey, I'm tweaking this, do this. And like, oh yeah, that's way better. That came from talking to Trey. She's great. So like, just having the right people in your corner, whether it's, someone like me who can handle the paperwork efficiently and effectively and quickly, and it's just really easy, or someone like Trey who can kind of like get your branding dialed in a bit more, or someone like you can help with all sorts of things like coaching, and then you got like JJ with websites and marketing. I mean, there's just a whole spectrum of things there that when you have the right people, people with integrity, people who want to make sure things are done the right way. I can personally say for myself, if things go sideways, I'm going to make it right. Those are the people you want to align yourself with. It's okay to make mistakes. Things happen.
Yeah.
But like how we fix them and how we pivot from them is, very important, right?
Well, and so what's really cool is you're out there and you're building your relationships and everything and with your trusted partner page, but then you talk about like alignment and again, you built those relationships, but then like me and JJ have a great relationship, and Trey and she's done photos for me and my clients and stuff like that, and so it's really cool how then your clients and the people that are you're utilizing your trusted partners are getting kind of an ecosystem where everybody flatters each other.
Yeah, absolutely. But and the most important thing, for anyone who doesn't know really any of us, if you're new to, me or new to any of this, is it's not just the, patting each other on the back part, but it's like we all do the work.
Yeah.
We all provide an actual service.
Yep.
I love it because it feels like real, actual networking, like actual synergy.
Yeah.
And we all complement each other really well. But it's actually doing the work. Like it's, if you need a consultant, there's people there who can consult and do that and then let you implement it. And then if you need me to do like the actual office work, the tangible work, I'm doing the tangible work. And that's, some of those tweaks, is making sure people understand I'm not necessarily a consultant, but like I'm not just telling you how to put automations in your CRM and do that kind of stuff. I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
And then I'm making sure I'm quarterbacking the jobs, making sure they get through so your jobs aren't sitting there open. Because anyone who likes data, like me, you can't pull reports if the data's wrong. There's no point. You might as well just not pull a report, because if you don't have all your jobs through in the correct spots in the pipeline, what's the report going to tell you? Nothing. So having someone watch it, and even all these CRMs, and this is probably one of the biggest takeaways from the video today, for me anyways, my perspective, is the CRMs now are so smart. If you're a roofer and you've got a software, you got any of them out there, They're so smart. They've got automations, they've got pipelines, they've got just all the things you need to kind of stay organized. You still need to have someone look at it. As smart as Toyota has been for decades with automated plants, they still have people watching those plants. They don't just let it do itself. And even AI, you don't just let it like anything else. It's a tool. It's an air gun for like nailing roofs. You're not up there with a hammer necessarily. You got an air gun doing it. You need someone who knows how to handle that air gun,
Yep.
or else someone's going to get hurt with the air gun, if they're not careful, or, tripping over the hoses up there, all that stuff. There's a lot of little things up there that, because these guys are like really just dancing up there, right? Like just avoiding hoses, avoiding the wind blowing product around. I mean, there's some like legit danger on a roof, but they make it look easy. That's what I aim for with the CRM stuff. They're great tools. You still have to watch them. You still have to make sure that job is moving through. Sometimes you got to nudge the sales rep, say, hey, have you followed up on this lead? Sometimes you got to check on the supplier. Hey, I never got that confirmation on this delivery. Is it going to be delivered this date? Just because the CRM sent the order out to the supplier, did you get confirmation? Is it going to happen? Does the homeowner know if the date changed? Like all these different things, the automations are there, but someone has to make sure they're doing it. Like the automations are working the way they're supposed to, or just someone is manually doing things in there that still need to be manually done. There's a lot there to it.
I love how you said a little bit ago, if people like the details as much as I do, because I think a lot of times when you're a business owner and we're talking about being realistic and are we good at these things? Are there things that we have to do that we don't like and that we're not good at? And if we're being honest, because a lot of us are such drivers, that's why we're doing what we're doing, and we want it to move, and we beat ourselves up like, oh, I should be able to do this website update, or I should be able to do this invoicing, or in these automations and stuff like that. And can you do it? Sure. Is it painful and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. But it's also unfathomable for us to think there's somebody out there like you that not only loves that kind of thing, but is really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just having, finding the right people. And that's the niche I'm trying to fill. Is I know sometimes, it's not even, I think a lot of the conversation so far has been about like the roofing owner.
Yeah.
But sometimes these men and women are actually in a spot to hire someone, but they don't know. They're like, do I want to do the job listing? Do I want to create the job? Who's going to train them? By the time I get them trained, we're going to be towards the end of summer, and then I'm going to be letting them go. I'm hoping I can get them again next year. There's a lot to it, especially if you're in a climate like Michigan, like we are, where it's cold like a third of the year. It just is. Like there's legit 2 months in Michigan, you're probably just not going to go outside and roof.
Yep.
You're just not going to. You might do an inspection, but you're not replacing a roof for almost 2 months. I mean, sometimes you can fit them in, right? Like roofers out there will know what I'm talking about, but there's basically 2 months in Michigan. You're not going to replace a roof right there. 1/6 of the year is gone. And then you got if you kind of work out, you've got like into late fall, into early spring, it's very hit or miss. So now you might be at a third of the year. You're not really able to do anything. So a lot of people might not know you've got literally like a third of the year to like hustle. And then you've got another third of the year where you're probably going to do quite a bit too. And then you've got a third of the year where you're probably going to do almost nothing.
Wow.
So when you're hiring for an admin, these are what roofers are thinking of is like, what am I going to do? Pay them through these dead months? I don't have any money coming in. So where I've like really worked on that, and we talked about this earlier, I started out by doing like, hey, I've got a flat rate, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month, and you get, this much more. To white collar people, it was great. People are like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. To roofers are like, okay, I can pay that when I'm busy.
Yep.
When I'm not busy, I can't pay you that. And so I adjusted it where it's a per roof price now, $150 per roof. That's it. I handle all the things we mentioned already. There's more to it, of course, but if they're doing 5 jobs a month, if they're doing 40 jobs a month, they're paying me when they have the money coming in. And then I already have the experience. I'm already doing it. And then I know that going into winter for roofers who are up here anyways, it's just, I want to do just such a great job during, the year that when we circle back to next spring, they're just like, oh yeah, Jake's my admin. You know, it's easy. That was easy. I didn't have to do anything. You know, it was great. And it's just, that's how it's going to be, right? Like there's a new way of doing it. Even though these big corporations want to throw people back into offices arbitrarily, I can work remotely. If I don't know, I just believe that they should be able to work remotely. They should be an adult who can handle work without being somewhere all the time.
Well, and I think that leads into the benefit of hiring fractionally. And that was even when I started my business. It was like in my industry, there were people that wanted to hire, and they literally said, we need to hire a Jason Tracy. You know, within our franchise setting, there were so many people that were trying to hire someone in my role. But it was, what I was seeing is it's so hard to find somebody that you can trust, that has the integrity.
Yep.
You know, there'd be a company that would find somebody. There was one specific franchise that I remember they hired their guy, and this guy he came in, he changed everything. He had the numbers cruising. They were doing really well. Seemed like a nice guy. I went out and met with him a few times. It seemed like everything was going good. And then they find out several months down the road that he was stealing inventory and selling it on eBay. And so it's like, you know, you're trying to find a sales leader, somebody that can come in, but that has that culture, that integrity, but also has a high level of experience and results.
Yeah.
And to find that, most small businesses cannot afford that person, that right person to hire them full time. And so what are they dealing with? They're dealing with newer people, or they're dealing with people they've got to really train up and figure out. And then to your point, now I got to lay them off after getting all that training done.
Yeah.
And can I get them back again? And then we got to get back in the rhythm versus you're working on this with other clients. This is your expertise. You've done it at a high level, you know, and so they can bring you in for a really reasonable cost, $150 a roof, and that fluctuates by the season by how many roofs they're doing.
Yeah, and thank you. That's it.
I summed it up. Yes.
All right. We're good. Yeah. No, it's that's it. I mean, that's why I started it. You know, I applied it at the roofing company I was at, helped that roofer. I mean, he was already doing a great job. He still is very successful. It was someone I knew. So, to those listening, I was picking on him. I'm like, how the heck did you make this much money? And like, you're barely even using the CRM. Like, how the heck did you do this? And it goes to, again, the integrity thing. He's a good dude. He makes his jobs right. He turns 1-star reviews into 5 stars because he makes things right, and that's how, and I learned from that. That's how he just outgrew his CRM before he could even do anything with his CRM. But we got the SOPs and everything out of his head. We got it on paper. We got those workflows into his CRM. We set up automations. We found the pinch points, the bottlenecks. We fixed those. And it went from, months from job open to job closed to weeks. Like after the job finished, it was like, weeks, or like a week, that pay period or the next pay period, it would be closed out after the sales rep was closed. But yeah, I mean, it's just getting that kind of expertise, it's just, I'm not going to come at $15 an hour, right? I'm not going to show up and work for that, and that's where these guys, a lot of them are. If you're, it's not because they're broke or poor. It's just, they're starting, they can't do that. And if you want a good admin to stick around for a while, I mean, honestly, in 2026, you're looking at 50, 60,000 a year. You might be able to get by with more affordable. Probably not. It just is what it is.
Yep.
So how can I take what I do and go with volume, and I love looking at other companies, right? And just, how many companies out there just make so much money on volume, and so how can I do that? And that's kind of where this, another angle of where this came from. And I can do this because I'm good at it. I enjoy it. It's like, I don't look at it and say, cool, I'm making money, but I hate what I'm doing. I actually love what I'm doing. Like, I love checking boxes. Yeah. I'm a professional box checker, and I like it. Like, it's just what I do, but it's actually necessary too. So I enjoy it. I think I'm good at it. And it's actually necessary. Someone needs to watch these jobs go through and make sure everything's being checked off, everything's done and pushed through. And It's a need, and it's it's not picking on anyone. It's just not what these, men, like I said, these men and women want to do. They want to get up on roofs.
Yeah.
They want to replace roofs and give people security with a brand new roof, get rid of leaks. They want to make sure they have a good home. And then they like working with their hands with tools and rolling up rolling up their sleeves, right? Like that's what God created me to do, is check boxes.
It takes all kinds of people and talents. And I love that, going back again, God
Yeah.
created me to do this, because how does our world run if there's not someone like you that loves doing this?
Exactly.
I've been in sales my whole entire career. I love the dopamine hit of checking off my to-do list, but I am not the detail oriented of like checking these boxes. It's not my strength. And so even like, whether it's roofing or you're just that visionary person and you are so passionate, you're able to go out there and sell, and you can make more money because you're free. You're not going back to the office and checking off the boxes.
Yeah.
It's now freeing you up to where you can go out and meet more people and make more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we've been talking a lot about that with, roofers who maybe don't have admins, but, even if they're scaling, they got a good admin, the A+ person in the office. Like I've said this, I think last year too, don't fire that person. Let's find a way. If you're scaling, you need me in there. How can we, leverage that person and me? How can we, keep everyone around? I don't want to take away anyone's livelihood. That's literally not what I don't get excited about that. I get excited about sales. I get excited about growth. I get excited about making more money myself, but I do not get excited at the thought of people losing jobs on account of me. But if that person is already on the way out, they're quitting, they found a bigger, better thing, that's when, call me, right? Like that's where I fit in. Or you got an admin, you have a showroom. Maybe that person focuses more on the customer calls, the customer interactions, the walk-ins, answering the phones, and then I handle all the detail stuff on the back end. And then you've got like a great team going forward, and you didn't have to pay for another admin. You don't have to worry about office dynamics and personalities clashing. You don't have to worry about people leaving. There's just so many things you don't have to worry. At the end of the day, I'm like a sub. I'm a subcontractor essentially. And what do any good contractors do with their subs? If they've got a good sub, they keep that sub. That's what I want. I want to be a good sub where they're just like, oh yeah, this is just the easy one to pay. I don't have to worry about it. It just gets done. He works well with my existing staff. That's the theme I hope people take away from all of this is I'm about sharing, building the wealth, or sharing the wealth, building the wealth, like sharing with my trusted partners, and just helping anyone who uses us. I want them to grow. I want them to succeed. Right.
Yeah.
So, and kind of going back to what you said about the doing it, it's just, we just all fill those gaps, I was kind of saying jokingly, God made me a box checker, and I used to be kind of ashamed about that, right? Like, cause I'm like a man, growing up in the 80s and 90s before the cameras rolling today, we were kind of talking about some of the things being Gen Xers and this stuff. And it was a legitimate different working environment as teenagers. When we were teenagers, there was a lot of just gruff, do as you're, what's that one? Be seen and not heard, do as you're told. Don't look at me doing everything wrong. You do it better.
Yeah.
If you worked in a shop, you probably had things thrown at you by superiors. It was a different environment back then, completely different. And, it was just, I always grew up thinking, man, I really like office work. And I felt like there was points where I'm like, man, am I just not like a dude? Like, am I just like, why do I like this stuff? But eventually I just embraced it. I'm like, I'm good at it. And I realize you need people managing things. You need people making sure things are getting done. And so I just embraced it. Professional career started getting lined up and taking off, and just like, I want to take this show on the road now.
Well, it's cool because then you went and found like the manly thing, like the trades, like the roofing companies. You're like, I'm going to do it. I'm at least going to do it here.
I'm going to show those guys. Yeah. No, that's funny. I never even thought of that. That's kind of like a light bulb.
As you were saying it, I'm like, oh, that's funny. At least like you brought it over to here.
But yeah. But it's needed. And again, the times are different. I can, You know, some of the, a couple of the clients I picked up last week, they're in Ohio. I'm in Michigan. You know, it's just
Yeah.
the times are different. You know, it's crazy to think this, but I'm becoming the gruff old man. I'm not gruff at all, but like, but I'm becoming that, like, the old timer, right? And like that. There's a sports announcer in Detroit. We can talk about this off the air, but he always talk like he was on one of the local sports radios, and that's where I'm at. I'm a veteran young guy now, and so yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and talking about that in the roofing company, what got you into the roofing industry?
Just my friend. Just my friend. I was in property management for almost 10 years. Kind of covered everything from HOA, condo, manufactured, did everything from selling, leasing, managing volunteer board of directors to working at corporate, ordering homes, watching homes get set, checking boxes, making sure the homes got set properly to pass all the inspections. You know, this was the manufacturing side. So all that, and I kind of got to that point with that company where I still love that company. I still say good things about it. But just kind of hit that point where it's, at first it was frustrating, but you kind of look back and you think, you know what? The reason I kind of hit a ceiling there is because it was a good company. And I think good companies retain people and they keep people, and people don't want to leave. So there's not that, the organic flow of personnel is kind of
Yeah.
different. It's kind of like more of a trickle than a flow. And so you're kind of, you either just have to sit there and wait for a while or you leave. And there was an opportunity to go into roofing, which I knew nothing about, but the skill set transferred over, you know, running an office for a roofing company and then running the day to day for it. It's very, very similar. It's this, going back to that box checking. It's just making sure things are done, making sure we stay ahead of customers, you know, just like homeowners. I found early in my career that if you can set expectations with your homeowner, with your customer, with your client, if you can set proper expectations and then stay in front of those, there's nothing I dislike more than a customer beating me to an email.
Yeah.
Because that means I didn't do my job.
Yep.
So if they have to follow up with me,
Yeah.
I did something wrong.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
like a challenge for me. So I like staying ahead of those. I want these, you know, my clients, I want my clients' customers. I want them, you know, we talked about, like, I want the roofers to just be like, oh, it was just using Jake was easy. Well, what does that mean is I want their customers to be we're ahead of them so much where they're telling their friends like, oh, go use this roofer. Why? Like, I literally hired them and I was nervous as heck because I just had to pay for a, you know, $15,000 to $30,000 roof, and no one wakes up any day thinking, man, I hope I can buy a new roof today. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
You never look at your roof. It's supposed to keep you dry, but when it's broke, it agitates you.
Yep.
And no one wants to pay for that. So I want to do my job to the point where we stay ahead of those customers. I want them to be like, honestly, I gave them the money. I was nervous as heck. And then boom, there was my updated invoice. And then boom, there was the updated schedule. And yeah, they had to move it back a couple times because of rain, but boom, they were on top of it. The materials showed up when they said they would show up. And then when the job was done, and this is the stuff I can't control, right? But the roofer and his crew, I'm trusting them to take care of the job. They do that. And then homeowner's like, here's the rest of the money. Boom, I got the warranty like days later, whenever, you know, it comes back. It's usually like a couple days. And then I got the paid in full invoice immediately. And, you know, so why am I referring them? Because I was scared spending 25,000 on a roof.
Yeah.
And then it was like the easiest thing I've done in a while. Like, I didn't have to ask anything. They were just on top of it. And then that's going to lead to more deals. So, and that's how I want to operate. And that's how I want to help roofers, you know, grow, is because that's how they will grow, is when you just have a seamless operation and the homeowners are, at the end of the day, happy they gave you $25,000, you know. When it's just like, okay, now I trust that the roof's done. They got pictures of everything, got the warranty. Okay, that wasn't so bad.
I love that you went into detail on that, because that's when you're talking about going through and checking the boxes, and it's like this imperative stuff. You're going in depth and talking about that customer experience and what that communication does. That is something that is it's a huge differentiator. And I say all the time that the who makes communication the easiest in business is going to win every time, and they're
Yep.
going to get those referrals, and they're going to, because it's just not what's happening out there as a standard.
Yeah.
And so for you to bring that piece in to these guys, that wow, how quickly does that stabilize their company when they're out running and doing these things? And maybe they're doing this to some degree, but I know from the industries and businesses I've worked with that even the best businesses, when you're overwhelmed and you don't know how to, and this isn't the thing that lights you up,
Yeah.
it just goes, it doesn't get done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very important to stay on top of those things and to stay ahead of the customer. And again, anyone who goes into business, we all know this. We all go in, we start our business like, I need to take care of the customer. We all know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's just being able to do it is different. And that's where, like I said, I feel like I can grow professionally by helping others grow professionally. And again, this is just where, what I've learned over the years from other great people. I'm not calling myself great, but from other
Yeah.
other
No,
people who
yeah.
are, I think, greater than me, and I've learned from them and how to take care of other people. And I think, you want to be around, whether these roofers want to be around for decades, whether they want to give it to their kids, whether they're just, some of them might be growing it to a point to sell to private equity. That's fine. Whatever.
Yep.
How are you going to get there? Well, you got to get there by making sure you get the second half of that payment. Because if the customer feels like they're always following up with you, and then all of a sudden, even if the job's perfect, they're finding fault in the job, and then it's just harder to pull that second half of payment away from them. That's not going to work. You're not going to stay around terribly long. You just want to stay in front of them, make sure everything's good, and people tend to be more loose by handing the money over, right?
Nobody wants to hand their money over, but at the same time, they know it's the process, and there's nothing there that they can say,
Yeah.
that was done. That I feel bad about paying this money. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
disgusting even give this money to you, because it was a laborious, hard process.
Yeah. Like, I feel obligated to give this to you.
Yeah.
Because you did do the job, but we don't want that. We want them to just be like, yeah, everything was great. I got, they were in front of me, and if I did have questions that they didn't ask me, we got a response right away. Or maybe I didn't like that answer, but it makes sense. I get it because they explained it well. That's a big part of it too. But yeah, just making sure, everything is being done as promised, because it's easy to sell and it's easy to promise, but then you got to actually do the work. And that's that gap I can fill in, because, like I said, whether they don't have an admin, or they are just too stretched, or they're trying to grow, or they are growing, utilizing my company to fill those gaps, just to smooth out those things and make sure they're all being done. It worked. When I started there, after 2 years, we went from, and again, this is just me being part of a good team, but 7.1 to 10. In 2 years in roofing. I'm sure there's a lot of roofers who'd be like, man, I'd love to go from 1 to 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's possible. I mean, it takes hard work. It takes a team. You need sales reps doing what they're supposed to do. You need, you guys got to be closing. Your crew's got to be doing things the right way. There's a lot to it, but the one piece that I think kind of gets, especially nowadays with CRMs promising everything, like, we can automate all this stuff for you. You're just going to grow. I've seen all the videos, the hype videos.
They're hype. That's it.
And they're technically correct. Using CRMs does streamline things and make things quicker. But again, you still need someone quarterbacking that to make sure it all gets done.
Well, and who sets all of that up? Because it's all fine and well, but does that CRM know your business and know even if you're a roofer, there's small intricacies that make ABC roofing different than XYZ roofing, in their company and their culture and the way they do things. And does that CRM have that built into it?
I mean, a lot of them do have teams that help you get onboarded, and they put stuff in, but to kind of take it there. So it's kind of like, yes, but as you go forward, again, who's watching it?
Yeah.
I mean, those onboarders are doing their job, and they're, I've seen it. They're doing a great job. I'm not complaining about anyone, but it's just those ongoing things, and businesses tweak and change. We talked about that earlier with me, like my business tweaked and changed over time. I have a certain CRM. I've adjusted mine several times. And even yesterday, I think I tweaked something.
Yeah.
So, I never kept a change log, but it'd be really interesting to see if the things I kind of tweaked and changed over time. It's just part of, calibrating an air gun, or, like people who like wrenching on stuff. You don't just run your car and never maintenance it or tweak it. CRM and software are the same thing.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about the invoices, and tell me if this is a problem. I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I've noticed a lot of business owners have a struggle with getting that invoice out or getting that invoice paid. And we've been working a lot with, repair shops, for example, and there's a lot of money just sitting there in billables. It's like not getting paid. And have you seen that?
Yeah, for sure. That we had that company I went to. I think the peak of it was 1.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I think. Now, there was a couple really large commercial jobs.
Yeah.
So if you take that away, it was still probably, hundreds of thousands, if you kind of take the bigger ones away. And this isn't to, rag on anyone.
No, it's just what happens.
Just things kind of balloon up, and then, you're just like, oh, there's a lot of money there that we should collect. And it was owed to them, and we got it. And I think by the time I left, we got it down to, can't remember. Again, this was a team effort.
Yeah.
But it was, I think we got down to like tens of thousands, or, maybe a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
And in roofing, there's just going to be kind of it's not going to ever be zero. It's always going to have some, it's always going to be a little bit high because the nature of the business. But yeah, it's very important to get those invoices.
1.5 million. Yeah. There's a lot you can do with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, and again, it wasn't anyone's fault.
No.
It was just, it kind of just got that way. And by having good invoicing in place, by staying on top of it, I mean, some of it was people who, and the worst is, you don't want homeowners being like, I could have swore I paid that. Cause again, that just kind of makes it sour. Like they're willing to pay it. And some of those things were from even before I started. And it was just people forgetting. Again, the CRM was doing its job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the invoice was sent, but then what?
And the reminders might have been sent.
Who's kind of watching this and quarterbacking this and making sure all these things are getting done? And so, yeah, I mean, invoicing goes along with the customer service. If you can collect that check when the day the job gets done, that's what you want. You want to like, hey, we're here. We got the crew here. Let's walk around the house. Do you see anything, anything that's off? I got crew right here, can scramble up, tweak it, make sure you're happy, and then get that rest of that payment. Boom, done. That's ideal. But otherwise, when that can't happen, is what's the process?
Yeah.
Make sure that the invoice is sent, doing a follow-up call, just staying on top of it, all those kind of things, but it goes back to the customer service, and they're happy with the job. People want to pay. There's very few of us out there who just don't want to pay things. Most people want to pay for what they get.
Oh yeah.
And it's just making sure they're taken care of and making it very easy for them to write that check.
That is again, surprised we can find some money here. Like we can. It's one of those things that's got to be. It sucks to see somebody have that much money that they owe, but it's like we can fix some problems really quickly here by just going and getting this money.
Yeah, you can pay your subs, you can pay your staff, you can expand, you can do a lot with it. I mean, at the end, or just I don't know, pay yourself.
Yeah.
You're the owner, get yourself paid.
Yep.
If that money's out there. But yeah, invoicing, it's just saying, hey, job's done. Can we get paid now? It's that simple. It's not scary. Just asking to be paid for what you did. It's all it is, So no, all those things tie together, but taking care of the customers makes it all fluid, I think. And Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we try getting the other people out there to help them grow, make their sales staff bigger, make their branding tighter, all that kind of stuff, make the messaging clearer, differentiates from the other roofers. There's just so much to it, but if we work together, we can make some cool things happen for sure.
That's awesome. How do you start working with your clients?
So it starts out with just getting to know them. We get a Zoom call, and then there's going to be a little bit of an onboarding process, which is just part of what I do. But yeah, it's just I have a list of things I need from them. Anywhere from CRM access to if they have online permitting, like there's online permitting up here in Michigan, access to that so I can register for permits easier. And then, just the basic stuff, for permits, copy of builder's license, driver's license, just stuff that we need to submit to townships and stuff. Again, in areas where they have permits. Ohio is pretty slick. They have very little permitting. Michigan, we have much permitting. We have very much permitting in Michigan. So there's like those types of things. And then otherwise it's getting some time with the owner, ideally on Zoom, so we can see each other. They can see who I am, and just kind of going over what they're doing. What do they want me to do? This is what I do. What am I doing? I had that yesterday with a guy, and there's things that I would normally do. He's like, actually, you know what? That's something that this person does.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to worry about that. Like, okay. Now I'm not going to complain. It's one less thing. So that's just an automatic check every time for every job. I'm just like, okay, I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But I'm still watching it. It's still something I'm going to watch and make sure it's getting done because that's what I do. But I don't have to do it. So really working with them, I'm figuring that out. And then if they need help with kind of getting some workflows on paper, getting them in the system, building out any automations. There's a couple that I have to do to make this work really well. Just basically simply when a job like triggers from, like let's say the sales pipeline to production, I need to know that. So then I can start watching that job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know what's happening in the sales process, but like when it's real and this thing's going to get built, like this roof's going to get done now, I need to know that, of course. But so yeah, just really some basic things to get going. And like I said, the expertise we talked about kind of kicks in. I just start doing what I do. There's some fluid period working with someone new. And I tell them that, just say, if I'm doing something, you're like, oh, wait, don't do that. That's fine. We'll tweak it. No big deal. I just wanted to make it work. That's, like we've all heard in this video many times, let's just work together, make this thing work. I don't care about the pomp and circumstance. I don't care about a lot of that stuff. I just want to wake up, do a job just like they do.
Yeah.
I want it to be as easy as possible. It doesn't have to be hard. Let's just tweak it and fine tune it where we're all just like, hitting the staples button.
That was easy.
Like it's all it has to be, so I'm trying to create that kind of company where it's just easy just to do.
I love how our experiences through life can prepare us for certain situations. And like, for example, I have a client that he owns a truck repair shop. So he repairs tankers, fuel tankers, all that kind of stuff. And before he did that, he drove trucks. And before he did that, he was a dispatcher. And so he knows that other side of the industry. And now he's repairing them. But he knows, like a dispatcher from that standpoint, he knows like when a truck goes down, like what they're doing and what they're scrambling. So he can kind of understand that. And you're talking about doing the property management. Was there stuff from dealing with roofing companies or, that kind of thing that you learned going in that can kind of help your experience?
The thing that really got me thinking about it, the original idea did start, the Admin Handyman kind of was conceived when I was in property management. Because again, being a professional box checker, I liked actually paying the vendors.
Yeah.
Because it got it off my plate. I don't like having a big to-do list. So I remember thinking many times in property management, I'm like, oh my gosh. Half the time you're telling me you have no money, and I am telling you I want to pay you. and you're not giving me an invoice. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. If you need money, And then what would happen is they get to the point where like, hey, can I get like paid for everything like right now? And it's
Oh,
like, no,
no.
nope. So, but so it was just that get the job done. And I understand maybe not every single day. Like I get that. Like it's sometimes you just can't get invoices out. Like I do now with my company. That's an indication of what I do. But like I understand if you're doing it all as a contractor, you can't always get the paperwork done. Sometimes you just get home, you hit the couch, you don't even make it to bed.
Yeah.
You're just out. So I got me thinking like, man, these men and women are like doing all this good work. And I'm just like sitting here like waiting to pay them. And that's kind of what started this years ago. And so there's not like a ton of overlap. It kind of evolved over time. And then I like to say, you know, what started Admin Handyman was I was finally at the intersection of like having a good idea. I have the expertise. The timing was right. Like there's just a lot of things that kind of have to be in place.
Yep. Even
though last year was just crazy hard, it was still the right time to do it, you know? And so as far as like learning that stuff with them, it was just like, you know, that's really how it got started was going back to invoicing actually.
Yep.
And then just kind of realizing, man, more things could be done. And when I got into roofing, I was like, okay, I think this is that niche, you know, that could be done. Cause just working with contractors and handling invoices in general, it's really kind of hard to do to get them to like, what price do I charge? How am I going to automate this so I can do the volume to make money? So, you know, I considered that, but it was like, well, like, how would I do this? I almost have to have my own software suite where they would have to like submit photos of their invoices to me. Like, how do you do that? Like to make it because what am I going to charge for an invoice? You know, like 10, $20. And then how do I make that efficient? So I never really did anything. And then you get to roofing, you're like, okay, I could run a whole job for these guys. And then it kind of makes a little bit more sense because I can charge more, but it's still not killing all my time. You know, like you kind of like start putting it together. And and so that's kind of how it kind of got to that point. It's like, okay, I can make money doing this, but how do I do this? And then, like I said, I started out and I did it wrong. It's just like, did it the wrong way. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to change it to this. And that seems to be the right way. And, you know, like I said, the roofers just get excited because they're like, okay, like when you start saying, you know, whether you do 5 or 40, you're making money to pay me. And then the price point isn't astronomical. You can job cost that in easy enough. And guess what? When you start going down that bell curve into your winter, you're just like, we just wrap up what we're wrapping up. See you in the spring, you know, and it's just a lot easier.
I remember how excited you were when you thought of that idea. And it's again, it's being so outward to think about your clients and what are they going through and what could their potential objections be and how can I create something that helps them. Yeah. And that's amazing.
Yeah. It's easy to think of all the ways you can make yourself money, but like, how can you actually help someone solve a problem? That's something.
It's a win-win for you. It's a win-win for everybody. You make money, absolutely. They get their help. It's affordable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's one of those things like you kind of know, kind of like we know we have to do this or this or this when we get into business. But that was actually something I took from your difference maker bootcamp, right? Was you articulated in a way where I'm like, oh, okay, so this is, it just kind of helped it click a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said this in the difference maker, it's like, man, if I was, let's just say roofing, everyone knows what I'm offering. If I open a roofing company today, Jake's Roofing, I know what I'm selling.
Yeah.
I know the price point. There's history there. People know what I'm selling. So if I come knock on your door and say, hey, I'm a roofer, you know what I am.
Yeah.
Like there's like, we're all subconsciously trained to know what something, like many things are really. But when I'm like, hey, I'm a fractional operational expert, let me find some other adjectives to throw in there. But no one knows what that is.
Yeah.
Immediately I was called a VA. I'm not a VA. I'm not a virtual assistant. I was called a secretary. Nope. I was called, all these things, and people couldn't figure out what I did. You're talking about like that vending machine thing that you were talking about earlier before the cameras rolled.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of like, you're kind of like, I know where I'm at, but I can't build this image in my head. So yeah, like it took a while to not just figure out what the heck I was and doing. Like I knew what I wanted to be, but I didn't realize like I wasn't there when I started. And then I realized I had to like train people to understand what I do. So even the admin handyman, it's a name I'm keeping, all that kind of stuff. But I've tweaked some things with Trey's help, going from administrative support, which immediately makes people think secretary, you know, temp agency, you know, that to I've tweaked it to say operational support, GM for hire. You know, these are things that kind of elevate it to what would you have a GM do in a roofing business? You're going to have, or a superintendent or whatever, they're going to make sure everything's getting done. And that's what I'm doing. So changing those things from administrative support to operational support, from, you know, your admin for hire to your GM for hire, it elevates it and it makes it clearer. So people are like, oh, okay, like I do need a GM. I don't need an admin right now. I need I, as the owner, if I can have someone help me run this, and a secretary doesn't make you think they're going to help you run it. A GM does, you know, operational support. So that kind of help with Trey, like tweaking some of my wording has been huge too. So yeah, it's been a wild ride going from that fixed cost at the beginning of the time to this, and it's just seeing how it's changed. And again, I couldn't do it without being in your class. Couldn't do it without people's help like Trey and JJ and everyone else who's just supported, you know, and encouraged and help us get there.
I love it that you said it's elevated, because there's a definitive value gap between a VA and a GM.
Yeah.
You know, and so not that the VA's work isn't important, but it's not, important. It's, you know, there's a higher level to what that GM is doing. And so it's elevating your value or your perceived value instantly, but then it's clicking because it makes sense to them. These are the roles they have in their company. It's like if you were going to a football team and talking about a hockey position, you know, like it's a harder, or you're making some other reference. If you're like the quarterback, this is like the quarterback of the team. Makes sense, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and just those simple tweaks, you know, can make all the difference. And that's, you know, like any business, but you're trying to find the identity, and, you know, it took some time, but got there eventually. And it's, like I said, it's been going really good. Just be able to explain clearly. Like before that stuff, you saw me like weekly, and I'm like, I mean, I felt like I was right there. I'm like saying literally these things, but I didn't know how to articulate them. You know, it took some other aha moments to kind of get it there and tweak it. And, but yeah, once we got there, it's been great. And I mean, the goal this year is to bring on staff. You know, a key takeaway is I don't want to be a solopreneur forever. Part of like figuring out what am I good at and what do I want to get rid of, and, you know, using like Trey to help with social media and stuff like that. Not yet, but going forward here, in, you know, trying to make those strategic alliances with these reps who like, again, they're not my sales team, but if they're out there willing to be like, hey man, like, you know, I see that, you know, your front desk person left or your admin left or whatever. He's like, you know, so who's doing this now? Well, here's talk to Jake. You know, he's helping people across all the Great Lakes right now, and he's pushing into other areas. You know, finding those things and realizing, you know, I've been very good at, you know, coaching and overseeing and all that kind of stuff. It sounds kind of crappy saying like delegating, but like learning when to delegate and when not to delegate is actually a thing.
Yeah.
You know, until you start running stuff, you realize you have to.
You have to.
You know,
you have to.
I think a lot of times we think, oh, lazy. Delegation is lazy. Go do it yourself. Go do everything. Run yourself into the ground. Die. You know, it's like, no, like we don't, you know, there's been, you know, again, another company reference. Did Steve Jobs do everything? No, he found a strong team of people around him, which is what I'm trying to do right now to help grow that thing. You know, Facebook, Microsoft, they did their thing really good. And then they had other people who were smarter than them and who more capable doing other things. And that's where we should be going with our companies is like, I don't want this company to run my life. I don't want to be 20 years down the road and sell it for parts. I want to get this thing going.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be here doing it because I've got people in places doing things and handling things. And like, I don't know about you, but like, I want my company to work for me. It was created to make me money, and
Yep.
I don't want to be dying making money. I want to like go enjoy it.
Amen. It made me laugh because you said, did Steve Jobs do everything? And if he did, if you said Steve Jobs, we'd have no idea who Steve Jobs is. Apple would have died off before the iPhone and everything else came out, because he was able to operate in his zone of genius.
Yeah.
In his zone of genius, part of that was being a showman and being able to sell and create that vision and like really that marketing level, you know, and if it wasn't for him, you think about, even because we're Gen X and we got to experience it all, when the iPod came out, it wasn't the best MP3 player.
No.
There were several other the Zune and like there were so many other MP3 players, but Apple was just so cool that the rest of them died. And that's because Steve Jobs had people doing all the things, building the equipment, and he was out selling it, painting the vision.
Wasn't even just so much. So it was so cool. Yes. But it was also affordable.
Affordable. Yeah.
You know, or not. I'm like, you know, this all backwards. It wasn't just so cool, and it was more money, but because you could, like, back then, kids don't do this at home, but you could pirate songs like super easy.
Yeah.
I mean, in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was very easy to just get free music.
Yep.
The concept of paying for a song was foreign to us, which is silly as it sounds today. Yeah. But we were just like, you just go use this thing called
LimeWire or Napster or whatever, get some viruses on your computer and
but hey, you got free music.
I got to mow the lawn while downloading 2 songs, but it worked.
So, and then we were paying for it. And I was like, why would I pay for this? But they did it so well. Yep. They put together a business so good. And I'm not at all saying I'm anywhere near the stratosphere of Steve Jobs' genius. It's just, but what I can take from him is he built a team around him. And that's what I'm trying to do, is build a team around me to get this off the ground, to get it firing. So then we can turn this into a company. So then when you're calling the Admin Handyman, you're getting consistent service wherever you go, like so many other places. You know, if you go to a place in Michigan or a place in Ohio or Texas, if it's a chain, you're kind of expecting the same level of service or product quality, right? Yep. So I want to get to that point where it's just, because it really is easy work. It's just trying to find that way to build it where it's affordable to the roofers. We can pay staff. We can grow this thing. We can make it a thing. So that's, kind of learning from all those, and then ultimately being like, how do I make this money? Because if I'm a solopreneur forever, I'm going to be working everything forever.
There's only so many clients you can take.
Yeah, at that point, I might as well just kind of let it fall down, and then just go get paid 6 figures somewhere else, which we all grow to the point, and it's just like, I can go command that somewhere else and just do that. Or do I want to get this where it's paying me money, paying me 6 figures, and I'm managing my company, so that's what we're trying to do here. And, at the same time, help roofers get to that point too, where they're not doing this stuff. Let us handle that, let someone like, Trey handle some of that social media stuff. Let someone like, this person help let you get the sales teams firing. Like, let's kind of get these things going where the company is making money, and it's not hurting anyone. It's not cancerous. It's not toxic. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's make money. How do we do that?
So awesome.
Yeah.
Jake, this has been so awesome. I'm so glad we got to do this and catch up. And it's like the right timing, right? Yep. I love to see you on fire and excited and living your calling and watching that come to fruition. And I'm excited to catch up again in another 6 months, year, and see where you're going.
Oh yeah, man. National.
Let's go.
Big time.
Let's go. Well, thanks, brother. Thanks for coming out.
Yep. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.